Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Caleb S. Holmberg, and this is the Nintendo GameCube controller. I believe the second video I ever did on this channel was a Nintendo GameCube controller repair video, and since I have gotten a used GameCube console with a controller, which is this one that I have right here, I decided I would just document my process of repairing this controller, updating it, making sure it's running as it should. I did a video, the last video I did, the last controller or gaming hardware tutorial I did, walkthrough I suppose, was the console itself, and I thought it would be fitting to do the controller, which I'm going to do now. So this controller is in decent shape. It's clean, as you can see, mostly because I cleaned it, which I will show right now. I'm going to go over the outside of the controller, give it a good cleaning, give it a good wipe, make sure it's nice and squeaky clean. Just rubbing alcohol is all I'm using here. Works great. Make sure you get the cord as well. Cords can get pretty dirty. Yes, that's the cleaning portion. But now I would like to do some repair, namely this joystick is a little bit loose, as you can see. The cap itself is relatively fine looking. I think I'm just going to replace the potentiometer, or no, not the potentiometer, the module underneath, so that it's tight again. And also another thing I've noticed on this cord, see if I can find it here. Right here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a bit of exposed wire there. I would like to also replace the cord. Now I have the replacement part for the cord here. I believe it's a little bit longer actually. Now for those of you who are purists, this may trigger you. I don't think this is an OEM part. As you can see, those do look a little, let me see if I can focus a little better here. These are a little bit different looking. This is the OEM original GameCube Nintendo manufactured part. This is an aftermarket one, but I really like the cord to be a little bit longer, so I'm going to put this one in. Also, I have some joystick thumbstick modules here. I'm going to put one of these in as well, and that is what I will get to momentarily. So let me set those aside for now. To disassemble the GameCube controller, I will need my trusty, excuse me, there we go. I'll need my trusty tri-wing screwdriver. And all of this equipment will be linked in the description as well, so that if you desire to do this yourself, you may do so. However, quick plug, I would like to announce that I am offering repair services for controllers and consoles of pretty much any kind. So head over to my Facebook page, Caleb S. Holmberg Repairs and Upgrades, for more details. It will be linked in the description. Anyhow, the first thing I need to do is, there are 6 screws on the back of this controller, each of which needs to be unscrewed, so I will do that Now with that done, this back panel should just lift right off, if I am not mistaken. And there you have it. I think I'm going to disassemble this and do a little deep cleaning as well. So let's just take the whole thing apart and do that now. We'll have timestamps below. If you'd like to skip to any particular portion of the video, you may do so. So observing the controller, this is the front of the controller right here. You can see different circuit boards. There's a small one here I can pull out. This is the C-stick. The main circuit board is a little bit tight. First things first, I'm going to pull this Z button out. Set that aside. Now, the other thing I need to do to make sure I can pull the main circuit board out is to pull this cord out here. You see it's looped around that little piece of plastic there. Just kind of work that out. There it is. Now this whole assembly should just lift up. And there you have it. Now this C-stick you can unplug. I think I will do that so that it's a little easier for me to, well, let me see. Does that need a new? You know, I think I'm just going to leave. I don't think I need to replace the joystick module under the C-stick. So I'm just going to leave that one the way it is. But just be aware that when we do go to replace this module here for the main joystick, the left stick, it's just about the same process as the C-stick. They're the same type of part that you need to replace. It's just in a different spot. So this is where the C-stick is. If you're going to replace that, you can just use the same information and apply it here, and it'll work exactly the same. So the next thing I need to do is I'm just going to set this aside, this whole assembly, and I'm going to do a quick cleaning on the inside of this controller. I'm going to flip this over, dump all the buttons out of there, and so we have just this empty shell. And once again, I'm going to take some paper towel and some rubbing alcohol. And just give it a nice scrub. Especially get around the edges, this seam where it goes together, the two halves go together. Make sure there's not a bunch of junk in there. As you can see, there was for me. It's a place where dust and dirt like to collect. Gets pretty gross on most controllers over time. That's where any kind of cracks is where dust is going to collect. So those are the spots you need to pay close attention to. Okay, the front cover looks good. I'll stick that over here. Let me just take the back cover and do the same. And that's looking pretty good. Now you can take these L and R buttons out, but for my purposes I don't need to. That I believe I did in my previous video on the controller from a long time ago. So refer to that if you would like to do that. But it is pretty straightforward. There's just a couple of screws here. This pulls out, and then the button itself comes out. You can clean it, replace it, do whatever. Anyway, I'm going to open this window real quick for some ventilation. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and take these buttons and clean them really good as well. sometimes dirt likes to collect around the edges of these as well, so sure I get them nice and squeaky clean. A button, B button, Y button here, Z button, the directional pad, and the start button. Looks fine. I'm gonna go ahead and clean these little rubber pads as well. I believe there's one more that's stuck to the circuit board, so I'm going to do that one. Grab that, that should just pop right off of there. And there you have it. And I'm going to do the same with these stick caps. These just pull right off. They're not glued on or anything, they'll just slide off, or they should. Maybe I will get a Q-tip for this. Oh, that's a lot. As you can see, there was a little bit of dirt under there on the side, so I want to make sure that's clean. All right, looks good. Still a little bit of alcohol here, so wipe that up. Okay. Next, everything's clean. Everything is spotless. So the next step will be the circuit board here. So first, I'm going to go ahead and replace this cord. So I can see there is a little zip tie holding that in position. I don't think I need that for the final product, but for this, it looks like you're going to need a little bit of soldering. So in just a moment, I will have my soldering iron heated up and we can go ahead and get this going. Now for soldering, I like to use this for some magnification, just so I can see what I'm working on. I believe this is called a helping hand. Again, everything you see here will be linked in the description. Actually, this might just get in the way, but I do like having these little clips to hold what I'm doing in place. So, that being said, as you can see, this purple piece of plastic is sort of in the way. I can see it getting in the way anyway. These are the ones we need to get to. These solder points up here, these are where the cord is connected. It might not be a huge problem, but I think I am going to go ahead and remove this plastic piece here. So to do that, you'll notice, let me make sure I'm still focused here. You'll notice these two little purple tabs here. Those will push down and pop right out. Then you can pull this whole assembly out, or should be able to. I may need to, okay, so here's the rumble motor. The rumble motor needs to pull out as well. So this should just pop right out and there's a little tab holding those two cords in place, those two wires. I should just be able to pull it out of there. And then this whole assembly, these two tiny little boards here should just slide out like so. Maybe, there we go. And then this I can set aside in my little pile of odds and ends. Okay, and now I have my stripped down circuit board that's ready for work. Now, we just set this up in a way such that it's secure and not moving around a ton. Now, to do this soldering, I will link a basic soldering tutorial as well, because I am not an electrician. Soldering is one of the only things I know as far as electrical work go. But let me open this really quick. If you get a basic soldering set like this, see if I can get this open. There we go. It should come with some steel wool and a sponge. If it doesn't come with a sponge, you can order them. Those are used to clean it off, so if you see me doing that, that's what I'm doing. Again, I'm gonna try and find an expert's tutorial on the basics of soldering so that you guys can learn from someone who knows a little better what they're doing. I think I have a pretty good grasp on it, but we shall see. So I have my solder right here. I'm just going to go ahead and cut a little bit off. Now, first things first, I need to remove these 6 solder points. So to do that, I'm going to need a solder remover. And this, I just push in on the plunger and then push the button to release it. Let's see if this is heated up enough. And then remove it, just like so. There's one. Let's go on to the next. That should do it. Another. On to the next one. Number 4. Sometimes you might have to hit it a couple of times with the solder remover just to make sure it's completely clear, or as close as you can get it. Make sure I'm still focused here. one more. And then hopefully I will be able to just pull the cord off of the controller. There we go. Now let me just pull this over here and see how this works. If it works. Seems a little bit tight. Like maybe I have a couple of spots that I can get a little more thoroughly. So let's see if I can do so. I think I see a couple spots here that could be a little more clear. All right. Let's try pulling that off one more time. Hopefully this time I've got it. Perhaps. Let me look at the replacement and make sure I'm doing this right. So it should be. There we go. Got it off. Took a little bit of finagling, but in the end, got it. So I want to make sure that I get this in the same way. So if you get confused on which way this goes in, just remember the flat part of the plug here, or this plastic casing, faces the inside of the controller. These ridges face outward, if that makes any sense. So I'm just going to slide it in like this. Make sure I've got the right holes. Just slide it in just like the old one was in there. Make sure each of these little pins goes into its respective hole. And there you have it. Now I have to re-solder these solder points back to reconnect the wire, or connect the new wire rather. So to do that, I'm basically just going to do the same thing backwards that I did before. Alright, I'm just going to take a little piece of solder here. Well, a little length of this. And just touch the iron to the solder point and hope for the best. Oops. That one looks pretty decent. Heat it up, make sure it's okay. One down. 2 down. That's 3 down. Make sure that's not touching the points next to it. You don't need a ton on there, just enough to cover the pin and the solder point. Should be perfect. I think that looks pretty good. Okay. Now, make sure this soldering iron is clean, and I'm just going to move the camera real quick. And while we have everything out, I might as well move on to the joystick. That is what I will do next. So I'm just going to go ahead and come over here. Oops. Just reposition, flip this thing over. Sorry, I keep dropping my helping hand here. I should really pull this magnifier thing off. It kind of just gets in the way now. If your eyesight isn't the greatest, then I would recommend using the magnifier, but okay. This out of the way, this little panel there, and let me make sure I'm focused. Okay, now for the joystick, I'm going to do, since my area of concern here is not these on the sides, it's really the actual box itself. I could just replace the box itself, but I think for my purposes right now, since I need practice soldering stuff, I'm going to do the whole thing. So what you could do, and what I did in my previous video, is you could just desolder these 4 points there and then pop the potentiometer off. As a matter of fact, no, I'm going to do it the long way for this video. As you can see there, that joystick is pretty wobbly, so I'm going to replace that. So here I'm going to just replace the whole thing. Let me get this back in position. Get it back in focus. And here we go. Alright, same as we did before, I'm going to do the small ones first, just because they're a little harder to get to and a little more of a pain. Just heat it up and, oops, remove it. No rocket science to it, it's just a little tedious and takes a little bit of time, so I guess that's a little redundant, I suppose, but it is what it is. Alright, under the next 3 here on the bottom. Alright, and now I can move on to these bigger ones here. Something oddly satisfying about this. Turn this a little bit so I can get at this little spot here. Alright, and that should do it. If I've done my job correctly, should be able to just pull that box off of there. Let's find out. Take this off of the clips. It seems I've left something a bit, see, I've got more soldering to do. The rumble motor came off. No fear, do that. Take the whole thing off, we'll do that later. Learning experience, teachable moment. Anyway. Put this back in place. And once again, just heat up this. My solder remover is a little bit gummed up here, so I'm going to try and empty that out. There we go. Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna go with this one. On this side, I see a little bit of silver connecting it. Okay, that looks much better. How about over here? That's still connected a little bit. There you go. So I think the problem here are these little solder points and not the big ones. I think I can see a little bit of solder on them still. Now I know they do make fancier solder remover tools, like something that actually heats it up as you go, so that you don't need to actually use a soldering iron while you're removing these solder points. That would make this a lot easier. But if you are El Cheapo like me, then you will know that this is the way to go. And so this is the way I do it. And it works. It just takes a little bit longer. But I think I'm getting it here. Just takes a few more tries. Make sure I'm still good here. Try it from a different angle, that might help. Whoa. This one looks a little gummed up as well. Let me see, am I still... There's that one, looks a little better. Alright, so it seems a little bit more loosened, which hopefully means that it'll be easier to take it off. Take off the box, that is. So, we'll give this a try. Once again, pull it off of here, flip it over, and pops right out. So here we have the old box, and let me grab one of these new ones. You can see this one moves not really at all. So I'm looking forward to getting this taken care of. Now, we'll just place this new box right back where the old one was. Should fit right in. And just got to resolder. Put it back the way the original was in there before. Alright, now I need to just solder each of these points. Alright, I'll start with the small ones once again. Just put a little bit on there. That looks good. There's one. There's two. There's three. See here. There's four. This is. Hopefully, I have that all the way down. I think it went down pretty well, but I guess I will test it once I have it back in. I can always adjust, but I think it clicks right in there. Let me just make sure before I get all of these in that this is down all the way. Doesn't quite look like it's down all the way. If you notice, hold on just a second, I dropped something. If you notice, not quite level there. So I might just redo those 3 points that I just did. I just want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. And I don't want to have the joystick sticking up any more than it should. So let me just redo those. Just pull off these 3 points real quick. That this is in the way it's supposed to be. So if I pull it out, oh wait, I already had one here that I missed. Hold on, I'm gonna remove this one real quick before I pull it. Okay, there we go. It should just fall right out. Okay. So how am I gonna make sure this stays in place? I think I'm going to just push it right in and make sure I have something under here to support it. Let me put this solder roll here. That should keep it so it's pushed all the way into that circuit board. Alright, I'm going to try one more time and just solder these points. The little ones, once again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and then the 6th one, and then we got these bigger ones that I can do. We got one here, another one here, here, and then one more. Hold on, this I need to make sure the solder is all the way around the point here. There we go. One more. And then we'll be all done with the joystick. There we go. Alright. Now, as you noticed before, this rumble motor seems to have become disconnected, as it was just kind of hanging there. So I'm going to reconnect that. I just want to make sure I have these wires right. There's a plus and minus. These two solder points are where these connect, but there's a plus and minus on. I'm assuming that the white is the negative and the black is the positive, but I just want to make sure. So it appears that I was wrong, and the white is the positive and the black is the negative. So I'll go ahead and reconnect that. First, since it did get disconnected, I think I'm just going to strip these wires back a little bit. get some of this wire exposed a little. Oh, cut it. Guess I had these a little too tight. This is a very small wire, so it's a bit difficult. There we go. See a little bit of that wire exposed. And go ahead and do that same with this negative wire, the black one here. Just want to be careful not to damage this. There's a little bit, but I think I need a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know. That might be enough. But I want to make sure this is... Well, I think that should be enough. Yeah, I think that should be fine. Alrighty. Now, I think this should be easy. I should just be able to... First, I will go with the positive wire here. Just melt the solder point, melt it down, and just stick the wire in there. Make sure it's pretty good, pretty well covered, and then just let it harden, and then the same thing for this negative, and I should be all set. And this would be how you would replace the rumble motor. So I suppose I am adding this onto the tutorial as well, although it was unintended. That should do the trick. And make sure I don't put that in a spot where it will pull off again. Alright, and I should be all done with my soldering iron, so I can turn this off. Let me make sure I clean it one more time. And once I do that, I can go ahead and put everything back together, and then I will give it a test run to make sure everything works correctly. Okay, now I am ready to put the controller back together, and we will see how it runs. So, as we did before, first thing I'm going to do is put this purple piece back on, and that just goes on this side, the side with the cord, the cable plugged into, not the opposite side. Wait, hold on. Am I right about that? I think so. Yep. And just make sure these two little circuit boards slide right in, just like they came out. And just be very careful with everything here, because these parts can be a little bit delicate times, as you noticed with the rumble motor wires. This is probably, the rumble motor is probably honestly the most delicate part of the whole thing, because it's a pretty hefty part held on by just two little wires if it's not in the housing. So just make sure those two clips clip back in, and that should be good. So I can set the rumble motor back where it was. I can't remember which way it went, but I don't know if it matters very much. Just to be sure. Okay, so this little pin you see here, is going to need to face toward the back. I don't know how much difference that makes, but that's the way it was in there, and I always want to put everything back the way I found it, so that's what I will do. Other than that, everything should be ship shape here. Now, let me take the housing, the front housing, set the circuit board aside for just a minute, and we need to put all of the buttons back into their slots here. I'm going to start with the A button, should just go right in. The pins line up there on the sides. The directional pad, it doesn't matter which way that goes in. The B button, likewise. Y button goes up on the top. The X button on the side. Start button, where did the start button go? Start button is very small and easy to lose, so make sure you keep track of the start button. Start pause button, that is. And that should be all the buttons, other than the Z button, but I think I'll put that in once after we have the circuit board back in. So let me put these rubber pads on as well. One for the start button, one for the other face buttons, and then one for the directional pad. And then, before I put the circuit board back in, I'm going to just put this cap back on for the joystick. Make sure that slides on all the way down. Seems pretty good. Same with the C stick. Make sure I have that aligned right. You'll see, let me make sure I'm focused so I can show you. You'll notice on the bottom, this is a particular shape, so you can't get it upside down. If you've gotten it upside down, then you've broken something. So the joystick pin that this part goes onto is shaped the same way, so it should just slide in if you have it the right way. So there you go. So now, and make sure you keep a handle on this wire because it will want to weigh it down, and you don't want anything to pull on these solder points that we put in. It's a lot stronger than these two for the rumble motor, but still don't want to pull too much on those because they're not made to support weight of any sort. That's what this housing is for. And speaking of, I'm going to put this back in. First, I'm just going to drop the main assembly right into place. There's these pins that are sort of extruded out of the shell. I see a little bit of dirt there still. I might just clean that off real quick before I forget. Hold that thought. The paper towel has its big solo moment here. Big time to shine. Anyway, that should do it. So you'll notice these pins coming out of the shell. The circuit boards have holes in them that should line up with those pins. There's big ones and then there's little ones like this one. They should line up and just slide right on. There's a few of them in different spots, but you know, I just want to pull this off one more time and make sure I have these rubber pads in the right positions. I think I do. Good. Alrighty. And there we have it. So then at that point, I'm going to put the Z button back on right here in the top left corner. There you have it. Not missing anything here. So grab the back panel. No, wait, before I grab the back panel, I want to make sure this wire is tucked in really snugly so that it's not being pulled on at all. So to do that, I'm going to just pull the circuit board out ever so slightly. This is going to go under. I'm just going to loop it around. Oops. I'm just going to loop it around this pin here. Just like you saw the original in there. And then loop it around again, right to the opening where it goes out of the controller and towards the console. And that should hold it and keep these wires protected from bearing any sort of load, I believe. Let me just does that seem right? I think that's good. Nice and snug, should be fine. Alright, now let me put the back panel back on and we will be in business. So this should line up. Hold on. I may need to reposition this cord a little bit because, as you can see, it's very close to the outer shell, so I might just twist it so that well, let me see here. Stand by, folks. I'm just trying to mess around with this and make sure I know how it goes in. Let me look at this. This was in the same way, but it was, oh, I see. So what I need to do is I have too much of the cord fed in, so fed through, that is. So I just need to go a little, pull it a little bit out, so I have a little bit less slack inside the controller. I just want that black wire, covering the part of the wire that's covered in black to go around the pins, not the colored wires. But if you end up with something like this, I think this is the way that it's supposed to be. So nothing's too far away from anything else. It's all very compact, and it's yeah, nothing's too close to the edges or anything. So yeah, that looks pretty good. So now I will try one more time. Just drop the back cover on here. Let me make sure everything's in position. Oh yeah, now these back trigger buttons, you're gonna want to make sure these sliders line up with these tabs here. So as you can see, they start up at the top and go down as you press it. So these sliders are going to have to be up at the top when you put this back on. So I've got those both at the top. Put the cover back on. And it should be good. Let me just make sure if I flip it over and go ahead and push all the buttons. Everything's tight. I think so. I just need to screw it together, and I will be all set. So to do that, just take the screws and screw them back in, just like we did before. And there you have it. Okay, stand by and I will move over to the TV and give this a test. Alright, so I've got my updated GameCube controller here. Let me just focus in with Super Mario Sunshine. Make sure everything works. Start button works, that's a good sign. Control stick works, that's a good sign. A button works, that's a good sign. Now I will say one thing that is very nice about this is much longer cord makes it a lot easier. So it's definitely an upgrade in my eyes. Alright, control stick works fine. B button works, X button works, Y button works. Directional pad doesn't do anything in this game, but I'm going to guess it works. Wait, does it work in the menu? It does. So the directional pad works. Whoops, hold on. R button works. L button works. Z button works. And let's make sure the rumble works. I feel rumble when I ground pound, so I'm going to say everything is ship shape and my task was accomplished successfully. Certainly a bit more of an in-depth process, and I will say it was a bit involved, so if anybody is a little bit intimidated by this, feel free to check out my page on Facebook, CSH Repairs and Upgrades, and or reach out to me on there if you have any controllers or consoles that need repairing. I would be happy to assist, and we can figure out pricing based on what problem needs to be fixed. I can assure you I'm not going to charge an arm and a leg, just charge for parts and maybe a couple extra dollars for service, but I would be interested in doing business with ya. Sorry, I got tongue-tied a little bit there. Anyway, I'm glad you've come this far. Thank you for watching, and I hope this has been helpful. One more quick plug I will say, if you live in Michigan anywhere, my wife has a bakery that she does from home. Online it's called Sprinkled with Joy. You can find that on Facebook as well. Best desserts you'll ever have in your life. And check her out if you're in Michigan. Buy some of her stuff. And with that, I'm going to call this video to an end. I don't know if that's really a thing that people say or what, but I'm gonna call this done. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. This is CSH Productions signing off.